Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Business and Experts Forum. This is a program that is designed to develop people and businesses through knowledge sharing. And what we do on this program is that we highlight the progress and achievement made by people willing to go the extra mile to improve lifestyles and the lifestyles of those around them. And we do this by discussing some of the approaches and strategies that they have used. The forum also features experts and specialists in their respective fields coming to share knowledge on everyday topical issues such as technology, finance, medicine, engineering, entertainment, social media, and the law, just to name a few. So, if you are someone who wants to go either into business, improve your business processes, or gain knowledge, or if you want to develop your passion, talent, or hobby into a business venture, then this forum is for you. And remember, we are live every 2 weeks on Mondays at 7 p.m. GMT, and it's 2 p.m. 2 p.m. Eastern time if you are joining us from the US. And do remember to subscribe to the channel and click on the bell so that when there is a new episode, you'll receive notification. Okay, so tonight we will be discussing how to prepare our young ones for lifetime career as a parent. There have been instances when our young ones have themselves in situations that jeopardize their future opportunities. Unfortunately, some of the time the problems start from an ignorant approach adopted by a parent or parents during the developmental stages of the child. So today we want to look at some of the approaches that may be adopted by parents or guardians to ensure that any children under their care is able to benefit from the best possible outcome in their development. To discuss these and more, we have with us Enam Akwete Eya, a purpose driven educational leader with 10 years of experience in education. Apart from education, Enam also has 18 years of experience in sustainability and global environmental issues and has a passion to be a contributor towards African transformation and green growth. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Enam to the Business and Express Forum.
Thank you.
Enam, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. I
How's your,
hope
how's your
my volume is, I'm speaking at a volume that
Yes,
is good
we can
enough.
hear you. I can hear you
Yes,
clearly, and I believe that so far as I can hear you clearly, the audience can hear you clearly as well. So you're most welcome.
fantastic. Thank
So
you.
we're going to go straight to the discussion. So
Right.
we're going to be talking about the role of parents and guidance in the child development. I just want to first of all ask you, in your experience, why is this important when it comes to the development of a child? Why is it important that a parent or the guardian plays an important role?
It's important that a parent plays an important role because parents are said to be the first educators of your child. So it's really important that you play a role. Um, Also, in sociology, there's something called primary socialization. Within primary socialization, a child is first socialized at home prior to being socialized in the secondary, secondary education, secondary socialization, which is outside the home. So it's really important that a parent takes a keen interest in the child's development because they have the opportunity to shape the destiny of that child. So that's why it's important that they take a keen interest.
So it's interesting you said that. So when it comes to child development, when we were growing up in secondary school, you have what we call the career counseling, where you get maybe some of the staff within the education institutions providing special career counseling for us, determining how to help you determine what you want to be in the future, and so on and so forth. So what is the difference between that kind of career counseling you as we know it and educational career development, which is the subject of our discussion tonight, which is so the difference between what we encountered in school, where you get career counselors talking to us about our development, and what the parent does from the home. What will be the key differences between the two?
If I would say that if you wait until your child is in secondary school to be guided in where they want to go with their life, then you're really late because you really need to take a keen interest from the very outset. Um, Children have interests, and they would gravitate towards those interests um, from a very early age. And so it's really important that you're engaged from a very early age so that you can shape that. So I'll give you an example. If you are uh, a parent, a child is very sporty. If you wait until secondary school to develop that sporting talent, you've missed the boat.
Okay.
A sporting talent will be developed from very early on. I'll give you an example of, say, Usain Bolt. Usain Bolt started training from very early on, running races when he probably was in nappies. You find drummers, um, musician creatives who started training from very early on. And there's this thing that about the 10,000 hours. The more you practice, the better you become at something. So when you wait until that age, then you sort of miss the boat. So you really need to be engaged from very early on. So you recognize what your child's talents are, what their passion is. If you have, 4 children, 3 children, even a child, every child's interest is different, and every child is an individual. And so you must recognize or identify what is that talent in your child, what is that gifting in your child, and then consciously, deliberately develop it so that they
Okay.
can be the best that they can be. If you look at the Chinese, for instance, they start training their children in whatever skill that even they, the parents, want from very early age. So from 1 year, 2 years, if you're playing table tennis, you start playing it from a very early age. They will send children to monasteries because they want them to be monks, and then they train them. If you want to be a Shaolin temple, Shaolin artist or master, you have to train from very early on. So those things don't come late; they come from get go. So that's why it's important that you are
So
involved.
you made a very good point about as parent or guardian, identifying the talent of the child in the early stages of their life. But how do you do that? Because if I have a child with me, and children are adventurous from the beginning. So what you find out is that the child may have their hands in so many things. The child may have interest in so many things. Do you hone in on one which you would recognize as a parent that is where the child's interest lies, or do you help them develop all of it and then hope that at some point one of them is going to kind of stand out as the dominant one?
I think you've nailed it. You really need to encourage all of it because you really don't know, from a very early age. So if a child likes, I mean, I'll give you an example of my son. He liked football. He loved drumming. As time went on, he fell out of love, not really out of love with drumming, but that sort of faded into the background, and football or sport really took precedence. So it's similar for a lot of other, for other children. Um, so once you recognize what their, dominant trait is, also it depends on their personality, and you
Okay.
need to identify or really understand what your child's personality is. Um, the things that really drive them, the things that encourage them, and then shape that, and not just wait until much later. You've got to really shape it from the very very early age. So a concert pianist, for instance, will start training from when they're a child. They'll start playing the piano from when they're a child. As they grow on, they develop the competency and the skill. And once they do that, they hone it, as they go on. Because then, with every grade, with every stage, you have exams. There's a level of complexity that is added on as you go on. And as those complexities arise, the child would rise to that occasion. That stretching would make them rise to that occasion. Now, if the stretching means that they lack capacity, they would then, fall back onto what they feel that they're able to do. And sometimes, as a parent, even when the stretching means that it is painful for them and they are unable to stretch, you encouraging them and you creating a positive atmosphere in your home so that they feel that actually, although this is difficult, I have to press on. Then they move on to it, on to doing that.
Okay, so because I was going to ask you about, you keep talking about shaping the talent of that child. I was going to ask you about what you mean by shaping and how that can be done. But I guess what you're trying to say is that which you basically have said, which is try and encourage them and get them to kind of pursue, never to give up. Is that what you mean by shaping? And if that is the case, does that only come from the parents, or does he also affected by external factors, which is
So,
outside of the parents' jurisdiction?
so shaping would also include giving them opportunities to develop those talents and skills. So, for instance, if yours is every day stay at home, don't do anything. I mean, in certain contexts, when a child wants to play with something or they break something,
Hmm.
it is a big, it's a crime, literally.
Yeah,
If you've broken the radio, it's a crime.
yeah.
But in doing that, you're also able to, the child is able to do um, reverse construction. So,
Okay.
for instance, they've broken a radio, but in trying to fix that radio, they're learning how to fix stuff.
Yes.
And if you take the opportunity of learning how to fix from them, number one, they become fearful. Thank you. They become fearful, and they don't try to do anything. Reverse engineering. Thank you.
Yeah.
They don't try anything new because they become risk averse. And you don't want a child who is risk averse because life is full of risk. Um, Walking down the road is full of risk. So you need to encourage your child to take risks. And in taking risks, it would mean breaking things that you've bought. It might mean breaking your laptop, breaking your TV. But when they do that, encourage them to try and fix it. So, okay, you've broken this. How can we fix it? How can we make it better? And in doing that, they learn. And if you look at societies in Taiwan,
In Asia, and then
in
yes.
Asia,
So yeah.
Taiwan, China, Japan, South Korea, that is
Hmm.
how they developed
Yeah.
reverse engineering. They will take a product, unpack the product, put it
It's,
together, and by doing that, learn how to do it better. So
mm.
if you create an opportunity or the opportunities in your home environment where your child feels safe to be able to discover, to learn, to make mistakes, because sometimes as parents we don't like it when our child makes mistakes. So for instance, you've gone to do a spelling test, you've got 2 out of 10. Oh,
You
what a
became at
shame.
home.
You know, you know, and in doing that, you cast doubt on the child's ability and their own confidence. And the thing is, if you lose confidence in yourself, you've lost the game.
That's it.
And it's
That's it.
really important that we encourage our children to always be confident that okay, I've got 2/10, but that is eight more that is two more that I've done really good at, and there's eight more to improve at. Um, and that would really support your child.
So always looking at so that the glass is half full, basically. Always saying that instead of
Yes,
saying the
I mean
glass is
for
half
me the
empty.
glass is always full because um half is full with matter, the other is filled with air. So air
Okay.
is for me, air is not something. If you
It's
don't have
occup-
air right now, will be gone.
so where it's occupying part of the space
It's
anyway.
occupying part of the space.
Okay. Okay. So basically what you're saying is that when you're home, you can give your flat screen TV to your son, let him bang it on the floor, and then let him put. No, that's not what you are saying. I agree. That's not
Not
what you are
quite.
saying. Not quite. Okay, I understand that. So this shaping thing, does it only come from a parent? I mean, I did ask the question. Does it only come from the parent, or are there external factors that can impact on the child when it comes to shaping them in this way?
Shaping comes also from the opportunities that you give to them. So are they do they attend any activities outside the home? Are they in school? So if they are in school, shaping comes from school, shaping comes from their friends, shaping comes from the friends of the friends of their friends. I mean, it's influences. That's why today people are paying so much money for um for influencers, people who influence your child. Shaping comes from them. So it's really important that you open your child up to positive influence. Positive influence can come from books, it comes from programs that they watch, it comes from the people that they hang out with, and it comes from, of course, their teachers, because those are also people who are significant in your child's life. So all of these people influence your child in whatever way.
Okay, so it's interesting that you talked about teachers. I was going to ask something about teachers, but there are a couple of points in the chat that I want to raise. So
Mm.
there is a question that has just come through, and I just want to read that question to you. And it says that how do we distinguish between indoctrination and training?
So indoctrination is when the child does not have an opportunity to question. Whatever you say is, whatever you teach them to say is gospel. And so they can't question. They don't feel that they're able to question you, or
They don't
question
feel
your views, or question your thoughts, or question the underlying
yeah,
challenge
challenge things.
that
Okay,
thinking. They don't feel
yeah.
that they're able to do that. And and they don't feel that there are other views that are contrary to the views that you have shared, and that is indoctrination. Training really is giving your child an opportunity to learn from a vast number of things. So for instance, um if you talk to your child about, somebody would say, I'll give you an example. Oh, I won't talk to my child about sex because when I tell them about sex, they'll go and practice it. Now, what about if you don't tell them and they go and learn it from somewhere else and they learn information that is not proper?
Yeah.
So rather than giving them the opportunity so that they you give them the options and explain it thoroughly to them, encourage them to question your view and explain to them. And if you don't know, it's fine. Sometimes we feel as parents, because I don't know, I cannot, you know I cannot say that, I can't let my child know that I'm ignorant. But it's okay, because then in that safe space that you create, you can all learn together, and in learning you share information and build confidence.
Okay, so a couple of points in the chat. One is that when we're talking about the laptop, and one of the comments was that what if it took you a long time to save to buy the laptop whether your child breaks? But I mean, a lot of us parents are very conscious of the monetary aspect of everything, and it's an important point actually. And also, there is another point that say that another someone is just put in the chat as well that says children are also influenced at church.
Yes,
That is
so it's
also
not just at church. They're influenced by also all
yeah.
religious groups.
I
So it's
guess
church,
yeah,
it's the mosque, it's wherever the child goes,
yeah.
whichever faith that the child has.
Yeah, I guess what they're trying to say
Pardon
is
me.
that they could be influenced in so many ways, including
Exactly.
the church.
Exactly.
Okay, so just if you've just joined us, I just want to let you know that we are talking tonight about how to prepare our young ones for career, lifetime career as a parent, if you're a parent or a guardian, because there have been instances when young ones have found themselves in situations that have jeopardized their future. So we think that if it's an opportunity as a parent for you to kind of start looking at their development early, and some parents have also started and trying ignorant approaches that have been adopted, and that has caused that's affected the developmental stages of the child. And to help us discuss that, we've got with us Enam Akote Yeah, who is an education leader with 10 years experience in education. So if you just join us, we're just talking about how we can develop our young ones. So, and I'm going back to the questions. What's the danger? I mean, if you're looking from the point of view as a parent, what is the danger associated with leaving the development and the career options of your child solely as the school's responsibility?
Well, if you leave your, I mean, so if, for instance, in not only in the UK but across the world, there's something called ability. Every child has an ability. We're all born with innate abilities. So depending on how that ability is shaped, um, if you're in school, there's and I mean, some children are born very bright, so there's that innate ability. Some children need some support, and there are some children who are not um who are different
Academically,
to
who are not academic,
other
but
children.
they are yes, okay.
Now, in supporting your child,
Hmm.
you give them leverage, you give them an opportunity to be on top, of not just even on top, but to know what they're learning. And so in this country, for instance, there is a lot of focus on the top 20%
You mean in the UK because
in
you're
the
in the UK?
UK.
Yes.
So in the UK, for instance, there's a focus on the top 20%. The top 20% go on to become the leaders in the civil service, they become the leaders of industry, um, and they become the leaders that really drive how our society runs. The
Mm.
middle would be the ones that support um,
The top 20.
the top 20,
Yes.
and then the bottom are the ones that really are
Consumers.
support the 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 the
The middle.
the middle, the middle. Now we are all consumers. Now the thing is, there's a cycle of poverty, there's a cycle of wealth. And to break out of that cycle, you need to be in a society that is socially mobile. Socially mobile means that you can move from the bottom 20 and go to the top 20. But in England, we have a socially rigid society. The OECD, of all the top rich countries in the world, have identified the UK as the most unequal society, or an equal society, in the OECD.
Sorry,
So
and
the
what is
OECD
OECD for those who don't know?
OECD is Organization of Economic Development. They are like the society of the top 20 world's richest economies.
Right.
So in this group, the UK is found. They take a test at 15, um, for all children within the OECD and outside of the OECD, and it's called PISA. And in PISA, they found that if you are living in England, you're a child in England, and you live in a socially deprived environment, you are less able to get 5 GCSEs. Whereas if you were a child that lived in Shanghai, whose parents or social demographics was similar to the child living in England, it doesn't matter who you are, who your parents are, you can rise to the top 20%. But in England, it is not so. So, how do you support your child not to be, socially disadvantaged?
Okay.
And I always say poverty is not destiny. So the fact that your parents are not at disadvantage, or they're immigrants, or socially excluded, does not mean that your child needs to also grow in that environment. What you need to do is to really help your child to do the learning that they need to do. Help your child to read, help your child to work maths, simple things like times table, knowing their times table, division tables. It's so critical to supporting a child do well. Working with a teacher, working in partnership with a teacher, so that the teacher knows that they have a trusted, partner in you as a parent. Because when your child knows that I cannot manipulate the relationship between my teacher and my parent, they know that there is nowhere to run.
Okay.
And the only way to run is to run to do well.
Okay.
So I'll give you an example of Michelle Obama. Michelle Obama's parents were not very rich, but because Michelle's mother helped her read, it helped Michelle do well and go to the universities that she did
Mm.
attend.
Okay, so just going back to the point, the question I asked, and I just wanted to clarify that question again because I do think that there are dangers in the parent depending solely on the school to help the child develop. And I just want us to kind of elaborate some of those dangers associated with leaving that responsibility solely in the hands of the school and not getting involved as a parent, so that at least we all know that we do need to get involved somehow. So what is likely to happen if the parent is not involved and it depends so much on solely on the school?
Okay, so in every class, there are 30 children
In the UK, in the UK.
in the UK.
Yes.
And in 30 children, there's a top 20. Now, if your child is in the bottom 20, the exam that they would write, the test, the learning that they're doing in class is very different to what the top 20 is doing.
Yes.
So, and because they've been grouped in ability groups. So, your child could be going to school and is going to school, but what they are learning is very different. So, for instance, your child can be in year 3 if you're in the UK, but they'll be doing work for children who are in kindergarten if you're in America, or
Mm.
preschool, or reception if you're in the UK. Because in terms of their learning, that is the stage you're at. And if you're not interested and invested in knowing these facts and supporting and really asking the teacher, because when you have you attend parents evening,
Hmm.
the teachers know which parents are keen, and and they prepare for those parents,
Yeah.
and they know those parents who should be there, who are not there. Okay, so they do the very minimal. Me, it is your child. You have you the child is carrying your DNA. So if you are not invested in your own DNA, why would somebody else be invested in them? And that is a question that as parents we should always ask ourselves. It's not really about money, it's about time, and it is about being deliberate in what you do and when you do it.
Okay. So it's not enough as a parent to just sit back and receive a academic report for your child that says the child is doing well. The child could be doing well at level 9 when other children are doing well at level 1. So
Yes,
it's always important that you dig deep,
you
or you
dig deep.
delve into what level your child is at that they are
Yeah,
doing so well. Because
yeah,
maybe your child's ability is so high that whatever work they are giving them in the school is so easy for them. They get so bored, and they get skilled through it, and they do so well. So they are coming out excellently, but it's way below their level, way below their
ex-
potential.
exactly. And for lots of children, especially for boys, it you when they become bored, they begin to take do things that are disruptive. They call disruptive behavior. And once they get into a cycle of disruptive behavior, it is very difficult to come out of. And then the focus leaves from having to actually learn to there's a focus on the negative behavior rather than the drivers of that negative behavior. So you'd find that a lot of, especially black young boys, um, being in this category because number one, either they are really good and talented in math or are struggling with maybe reading. And when there isn't enough focus placed on it, because they need to divert attention, they go into negative things, or they are not challenged enough. So if the work is not challenging, I get bored. I finish the task, I'm bored. What can I do? Play up, throw the bell, do something that will just gain attention that is negative, and that can take them down a very wrong route. And we see it so many times. There's so much literature and research done about this, and it's incredible. And that's why you really need to be involved, and challenge your child at home. And when you meet your teacher, the child's teacher, share these concerns and say, my son or my daughter doesn't feel challenged. Look, is it okay to give them work that would make them feel that they're really being stretched in the class, so that they will spend more time doing the work that they feel, and for some people it is a drive, it is a trigger, it's exciting that I'm doing something that is really difficult. In the playground, the children talk about it. Oh, I'm doing this work and you are doing that work, which means I'm higher than you.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
true.
and that psychological interplay
Hmm.
is really important. Yes,
Right.
we don't want to encourage competition, but competition is good.
Yeah.
um and competition can be channeled positively, and so encourage that. Also, when go back to what you can do as a parent, buy games, a Lego. There's so
Play
many games
items.
that
Yeah,
really challenge
to
thinking,
challenge them.
puzzles. They are very soft things that we do, but they need to be around the house. Scrabble. I when there's a friend of mine, he's late, he's passed away now, but he ended up in Yale University in America because he was so good at Scrabble. He could read, he understood every word, and that challenge really drove him to great success. And where did he come from? He came from a fishing village somewhere in Ghana. But just
Okay.
that opportunity that was created in the home environment really drove him.
Okay. Okay. So just I mean, when I was growing up, one of the things I remember very well was that my dad did always made me read. Every evening, he would make me read. At the time, I thought he was punishing me. But then I grew up and I got to know that it kind of helped me because some of the things I read about, I encountered them when I was much older in secondary school and all of that. And I also know of families where what they do in talking about challenging their children, what they do is that they buy study materials which are 1 year ahead
Sorry.
for the child. So, for instance, if you talk about the UK, where the child is in maybe year one. They will buy mathematics books and English books and verbal reasoning books that are for year two. So it challenges the child, and they don't just throw it at a child and say, just go and do it, because they know that you have to have that balance right. Because if you are not, you don't balance it right, and you challenge over challenge them, and they lose their confidence, that could be another problem. So
Yes.
in as much as you are giving them books that are challenging them by a year ahead of them, you are sitting with them and encouraging them and helping them to do it. The ones that are too difficult, you say, okay, you leave it for now, let's come back to it. But then you encourage them to keep doing it. Okay, so interesting. In my earlier discussion with you, and what you used the term which really caught my attention. You talked about career discovery. So what I want you to do is to kind of explain to our audience what career discovery means, and the role that can play in the development of the child.
Okay, so in terms of career discovery, I mean, when we were growing up, or when I was growing up, I mean, I'm sure it's certainly for you as well. There were very few careers in this world. I mean, if somebody has said to you that there'll be anything called cyber engineering, you will not believe it.
Mhm.
But today we have cybersecurity experts. I mean, it's crazy the kind of world we live in now. It's unrecognizable. So really support your children to, number one, master their English and maths. English and maths is the basics of everything. And then, of course, the sciences. So once they're able to, master maths, master English, that is the literacy, or whatever language of instruction that they use in the country where they are at, master that language. And then, of course, you can begin to explore what the child likes. So if your child is always wants to play video games, um, are there positive things that they can do rather than just play video games? So I read a story where a child created, using coding language, he created a game. And in creating that game, over the 6 weeks that they were on holidays, the summer holidays, he was able to earn £300,000. And this is a 9-year-old boy. Okay. But because opportunities were not limited to him, or her, he was able to explore that. In terms of university courses that you want to focus on, there's so many. I would not really push towards university courses, but I'll come back to say A levels and GCSEs. When you're doing your GCSEs, what are you learning for your GCSEs? Are you taking broad subjects? Or are you taking easy subjects? A lot of us do not like to. We are fearful that, oh, when my child doesn't pass or do well, it means that they wouldn't, they cannot go to university. University is not the only pathway um, for your child. Your child can do apprenticeships. In fact, I would suggest that, you know, you can do an apprenticeship that will mean that you don't come up with debt. So if I mean in the UK now, if you're going to university, you should know that when you're coming out, you have about £60,000 that you're indebted to the state with. In the
Okay.
U
Okay, before you go to apprenticeship, I want to ask you, just dwell a little bit on the university side, and then we can move to the apprenticeship side. So, I mean, we know that university is key, and you're right in saying that it's not a university is not for everybody.
Yes.
There are some who cannot go to university, or who may not want to go to university for one reason or the other. But one thing we know about the universities, especially in the UK, they are expensive, and one of the things that one of the ways that the system, the society supports the university student is by granting them loans, student loans to
Yeah.
go to university. Now, if the challenge with student loans is that you are saddled with student loan by the time you finish, because I mean, university courses are what, 2 years, 3 years, sometimes
three
4 years or
years,
more,
three
three
years, four
years minimum.
years, and you're
So
paying a minimum of £9,000.
exactly. So even if you're looking at just the tuition bit alone, 9,000 times three, that is what that is
Nearly 10,000, 30,000.
27,000,
Yes.
and then you add accommodation stuff, and that too, you come out with 40,000 50,000. So the point I'm trying to make is, if you look at all of this, there is a reason why you have to make sure you go to a good university.
Yes.
So I want you to dwell on that bit.
Elaborate on that.
Yeah,
So
elaborate on that bit.
why is it important that you go to a good
If you are
university?
going to university, why is it
If you're
important that you go
going
to
to
a good university?
university,
Yeah.
so if you go to university, the university must be worth the certificate the university gives you must be worth the paper on which it is written.
Yes.
Some universities issue degrees that are not worth the paper on which they're written. Some courses are not worth the certificates they're issued. So you must really do a lot of research. If
Yes.
you're going to university, do research.
You mean as
Um,
the parent, as a
the
parent,
parent and the child.
and the child? Okay.
And that is why I was saying that actually it begins from your GCSEs, because your GCSEs determine what subject choices you're able to have or take for your A levels.
Yes.
And if you at primary school you are not you're not able to gain the results for your SATs that are required, then it means that when you go to secondary school, you will not be able to do the courses that are expected that you would want to do. Now, um, depending on where you live in England, every postcode has an identifier. So they're able to tell where, if you lived in DA6, for instance, whether you're able to get 5 GCSEs or not. So your preparation for university does not start when you are in sixth form. Your preparation from university starts from when you're in primary school, or even for the parents before you give birth to your child, before you even get married. Who are you going to marry? What are their values? What do they expect or require out of life? What is their ambition? Those are key questions that you must satisfy yourself with. Now, once you've answered those questions favorably, where are you going to live? You're going to live in an area where the schools there are good and are going to give your child the best chance they can so that they can succeed. Because you can go to, just any school
Okay. And
in a bad 1 minute in
okay.
an
Sorry.
area
Go
which
on.
is not great, um and if you are not in a good in a middle, you are even in a bottom set, you might
Yes.
as well not go to school.
Right. Right.
So your results, whether you go to university and which university you end up in, depends on what happens in primary school.
Right.
And that is where your parents shaping is so important.
Okay.
So
And
it
I
is
just
a full journey.
okay. That's right. I wanted to clarify something for those audience who are not joining in from the UK,
Hmm.
because you made a point about the relationship between the postcode, which is where you live, and the kind of results expected from you. And also, it's important that people who don't live in the UK know what we have. We have something called catchment areas. That is why when it's time for people, parents, when it's time for pupils to go to school or students to go to school, parents sometimes relocate from one area of the UK to another area of the UK. And it's all because we have what is called, for especially for primary schools, what they call catchment area. So if you live outside a certain perimeter or outside a certain radius, your child cannot be in a school within the radius. So it's important that people understand that from the UK point of view, that's why people can be determined that okay, if you live in this particular area, you're likely to get this grade. But I just wanted to make a point here. So when you are in you said there's a relationship between the input you have at the primary stage for the child and the kind of university that they go into. I want to just to dwell a little bit more on that, because what I know is that even when your child finishes primary school and they're going to secondary school, the grades or the kind of results that they had from secondary school, sorry, from primary school, are passed on to the secondary school.
In some instances, in certain universities in England, your primary grades
Yes,
determine whether you get an entry or not.
from
Your
primary to
primary
university.
grades to
Okay,
yes.
okay,
And this is because they want to understand the kind of child you are
yeah, right from primary.
right from primary.
Okay,
So your primary grades will determine whether you get, because for instance, if you're going to a certain university, everybody who is coming to that university has top grades. They all have A pluses.
mm-hmm.
Your GCSEs all have A pluses.
Yes,
Okay. What is the differentiator?
Yeah. 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 I mean, it's very important, and it's very important that parents know this. And I hope that parents already know this or guardians know this, because if you don't know this, you would have your child going to school right from what we in the UK we have a reception, we have we're preschool, we have reception, we have yeah, nursery, we have
GCSEs, yeah,
nursery all the way through to
primary, yeah.
GCSE, and that shaping that you were talking about should actually start right from the beginning, because like you said, sometimes the kind of results that you are getting in primary school, what we call key stage 1 and key stage 2 in this country, can be used to determine whether you are capable of entering a particular university if you want a child to go to a good university. So it's really important that
Mm.
parents know that. What role do extracurricular curricular activities play in all of this?
So, extracurricular activities broaden the mind of a child.
Mm-hmm,
The kind of material they read, the
mm-hmm,
kind of games they play,
mm-hmm.
it broadens a child's mind. It opens their mind to so many possibilities. And we want a society that is creative. People want children, people who are innovative, people who are creative, people who are problem solvers. And these extracurricular activities build resilience, they build strength, they build capacity, they develop a child in so many ways,
Mm-hmm.
so
Yes.
many incredible ways. Limiting your child to only books is not good enough. In fact, for certain professions, if you don't have extracurricular activities, they would not shortlist you to take that course at university.
That's
So you
correct.
have to go and gain extracurricular activities. So in
Yes.
England, you find children in secondary school, particularly doing Duke of Edinburgh. Okay, they play sports. The
Yes.
girls, they're in sports, they're in dance, and they play an instrument.
Instruments. Yes.
They play
Instruments.
an
Yes.
instrument because they help your two sides of your brain develop. It's not just
Yes.
the one side that is developing, but it's both sides of your brain are developing. And that gives you the best opportunity to fully express the full potential that is embedded in you and to really explore it. I mean, it will be a shame that, and that's why some people say that the cemetery is the richest place, because it will be a shame that you have so much in you, but because so little of it has been tapped, you know, you leave this world without having to really make an impact with the full giftings that you have.
So I'm listening to you, and I'm thinking, okay, that's really good. That's very useful information in terms of especially the extracurricular activities that you've talked about. But then I'm thinking, look, I am I am a parent, and for some reason, one reason or the other, I am a single parent, especially a mother. I'm the only mother, and I live with my children. I've got 2 or 3 children. I'm struggling to put food on the table. I cannot afford to have money to pay for extracurricular activities. Does that mean that my child is doomed then? Because in that case, I cannot pay for those things. How do I go around that problem? Because these are practical problems that people
Mm,
actually face.
yeah, so I'd use an example that we saw was on BBC. A Ghanaian mother, she lived in a flat, a council flat in Woolwich or somewhere like that, or Eltham, I'm not too sure. But she wanted her child to take the 11 plus.
Right.
There were four in a room, and yet she was trying to get that child to take the 11 plus because she knew that if the child took that exam and she went to a grammar school, it
Yeah,
could change her child's fortune.
that's right.
Now, if you're a single parent um, and you are working around the clock,
Yeah,
you can take your children with you if you're going to work.
if you
For
can.
instance, if you can, if they are the age when you can. Now, if they are the age when you can't, then the question is, should you really even be leaving them at home by
Hmm.
themselves? And that is another conversation.
Hmm.
But if you can and they are with you, you pick them up from school. Let's read a book together. What book is this? Go to the library. Your local library has so many books. There's so many games that you can borrow. Make use of that. Read the books. Travel the world with your mind. You don't need to go on a holiday to know what it is like in Australia or how the Great Barrier Reef is.
Yes.
But in exposing your child to different kind of material, um, in the bus, before they sleep or when they wake up, at any time, every little opportunity, use that opportunity to inspire your child, to engage your child to learn, to read, to explore the world, not just in, their schoolwork, but
Yeah.
in various facets um, that you can make
Okay.
available to them.
So for instance, talking about that, if you can read for your children, it's encouraged that you read for the
You
children
you
every
must
day.
read to your
You must
children
read to the children when
because
they can't read by themselves, and when they can read, you
exactly,
encourage them
even
to
when
keep
they
reading.
can read for themselves, and you can read, because there are studies that show that a child who is read to and who reads at least 30 minutes a day, it's able to make a difference between whether they're going to get 5 GCSEs or not.
Right.
So reading every day at least for 30 minutes is critical, because literacy is the basis of knowledge.
Of knowledge. That's correct. That's correct. Interesting. Okay, so if you have been listening to us, we've been talking to Enam Ekwete Iya, who is an education leader, talking about what role parents can play in development of our young ones right from the beginning. Enam has highlighted a few key points that are really important about starting early, making sure that you are there for the child when it has to do with meeting the school teachers. You've got to be there and present so that the school recognizes the fact that you are the parent who has interest in your child. And, you're not going to leave the child at their mercy, more or less. And so as we round up, I just got two more questions for you. First one is that if I am I'm listening to you now as a parent, and I just feel, look, you know what, I'm just too late because I should have started this when my child was in preschool, or when my child was a toddler, and I haven't done that. I haven't provided that necessary guidance or taken the necessary action for my child development. The question then is that, is there ever a time when one can consider it as being too late to provide the necessary support, and if not, what would be what would be the suggested alternative route?
So it's never too late. It's late when you don't do anything at all. So it's never too late. So once you recognize that you can do something, begin to do that thing.
Right.
If you recognize that um my child is not able to, my child is at GCSEs. Okay, they're taking their GCSEs. What can I do? Help your child learn, be there with them if you can, really, in terms of practically. But if you can't, just encourage them. Say positive things into your child's life, speak
Right.
positive things over their life, provide them opportunities where they can gain extracurricular activities. The local council has so many,
Yes.
and you can take opportunity of that. Who are in your networks? Network
Yes.
with other parents.
Yes. That's very
Okay,
important.
network
Yes.
with other parents, and
Yes.
then leverage your full capacity. So if you're going to work and it means that you can't look after your child, speak to your neighbor or somebody who you trust in your network and say, can you support my child in this? If there is no male in your child's life, or there is no female in your child's life, who are the males and females
In your
in your
network.
network who
That
can
can.
influence your child
That's
positively?
right.
So
Mentorship.
find positive influences
Yeah.
who can support you, because it takes a village to really raise a child.
Mm.
As we have in our African adage, it takes a village. So find your village and situate yourself and your child in that village so that they can help you. And if you don't have the money, no, the local authority and the school can facilitate funding for the child to
Right.
gain those. Yes, there are cuts happening everywhere. There are
Yeah.
cuts happening everywhere. But even within the cuts, there are very little opportunities that you can find. There are charities that are doing fantastic things for children that you can, reach
Can
out
tap
to.
into. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's very important that you've talked about networking because, I mean, it's essential that as parents, we are in the right network, and but it's equally important or even more important that the kind of when you have a network, what the kind of discussions you have within the network are the discussions that will benefit you as a parent and benefit your children.
Yes.
So let me give you an example. We live in the UK in Essex. When our children were in primary school, whenever we went to drop off the children at school, and we had friends that like us who met and we were talking, we were always talking about how to find good schools for our children. We're always talking about where the children can attend lessons so that they can qualify for 11 plus and go to grammar school. So the point I'm making is that find a network that would help you support your child. Avoid networks that sap your energy, networks that talk about irrelevant things like Nigerian movies and all the things that don't really add value to us. Let's find networks that would add value to you as a parent and also to your child. Okay, so okay, that's it. So before I'll ask you of the final question, I've got a question in the chat. There's a question that says that let me just get that on the screen so that you'll see it. It says that how do cultural and social influences impact developmental progress of children?
This, I mean, we're people of culture. Everybody, if you live in a household, there's a
Yeah,
culture in that household. We live in a society, and the society influences the culture that we have. So culture and societal influences are predominantly what drives us to become who we are.
right,
So if you are in a culture, in a dominant culture that is contrary to your values, then you must at home create a microculture or
right,
microclimate that would encourage the kind of um, values
right,
and instill the kind of values in your
right.
child. And we know that, I mean, within the UK and a lot of Western societies, a lot of people are at variance with some of the culture that is creeping up or that is dominant. But
Mm-hmm.
in creating that microculture in your home and in discussing why you have created that microculture and why the outside culture is at variance or at loggerheads with the
Mm-hmm.
one that you have, not by shouting but through
Okay,
engagement
okay,
discussion,
okay.
then you are able to really facilitate a positive one that works for you and your family.
Okay. So finally, before you go, can you give us? I'm pretty sure we're looking for nuggets. So can you give us 5 pointers that you want to share with parents or guardians when it comes to preparing their children for the future? Just quick, briefly, 5 pointers.
Okay, so number one would be instill a winning mindset for your child. A winning mindset that is always growth led, not fixed. I can't do it and therefore I'm failing. No. A winning mindset. Be disciplined. Be the example that your child wants. So if you are indisciplined and you are telling your child to be disciplined, it won't work. So be disciplined. Establish a routine. So establish a routine means that at every set time in the day, you know what your child knows what they are meant to be doing, and they are accountable for that. Engage a child. So talk to your child. Your child shouldn't be a stranger to you. You must, let your child be free to talk to you. So in that sense, let your child be your friend, not your friend as your chatting partner, but your friend in that they have confidence and trust in the relationship that they have with you and they can share with you. Pursue continuous improvement. So yes, I am here today, but what can I be tomorrow? And what can I continually do so that I am continually improving and I'm not stuck in one place?
Okay, okay. So just to recap, inspire winning mindset, establish a routine, engage your child,
Be
pursue continue,
disciplined.
be disciplined, continuous engage your child and pursue continuous improvement. Thank you very much. Very very useful information. It's very useful to learn, and I'm glad that we took this from the point of view of the parent, because a lot of time when we talk about development of the child, we look at it from the point of view of the role of the teacher. We've been listening to Enam Okotie, who's an education leader, talking to us about the kind of things that we need to do as parents or guardians to develop our children. Please, I know and someone is put in the chat. What's your name? Okay, her name is Enam Okotie. Yeah, it's on the screen. And please, if you have any questions for Enam after this program, we want you to send those questions to Business and Express Forum. It's going to come on a screenshot, like business and express forum at gmail.com. So, Phoebe, I know you want to know a little bit more. You want to engage a bit more with Enam. So, send us an email, Phoebe, to business and express forum at gmail.com, and I'll pick it up, and then we can take it from there. Thank you very much, Enam, for coming on this program. Before you go, I just want our audience to know who is coming next time. Our next episode is on the 21st. And for those who were on the last episode, we talked about how to deal with medical emergency in the home. This is talking, and we had Mrs. Rosie, also a child here, who is a registered physician associate, talking to us about some of the first aid techniques that we can use in the home where there is an accident. The good news is that Rosie is coming back and on the next episode, because there was a lot of feedback which said they wanted Rosie to come back to talk more about the first aid in the home. So I just want you to know that on the 21st, which is the next episode, 21st of February, Rosie is coming back to talk to us, elaborate and talk a little bit more about first aid in a domestic environment. And we did say that because of the lockdown, a lot of us have stayed at home and we become very prone to accidents. And it's very important that you know what to do in the case of an accident. Why don't you call 999 or 911 or 111 for that matter, wherever you are, and you're waiting for the paramedic or the doctor to come in? You need to know what to do in the interim. And this is the kind of thing we are talking about, because what the action you take between the time you make the call and the time the paramedic comes can actually save the life of your loved one, your child, and even save the life your life. So please, on the 21st of February, we are back. We talk about some of the things, simple techniques, very, very simple techniques we can put in place to ensure that we save the lives of our loved ones when there is an accident and whilst you're waiting for the paramedic or the doctor to come in. So once again, I want to say thank you, Enam, for coming to talk to us. It's been really insightful. Somebody said we should invite you back. We're going to invite
Thank
you
you for
back
having me.
definitely. We're going to invite you back. Thanks very much for taking time off your busy schedule to come on to us. Business and Expert Forum really appreciate your time. And for you out there in the audience, we always appreciate you, because without you, the program, as I keep saying, the program is not going to go, is going nowhere. So thank you very much also for being there. And please share the good news. This program is free. The only time or the only thing it costs you is 56. Today it's cost you 56 minutes of your time. That's all it costs you. Just set aside every 2 weeks 50 to 56 minutes or 50 minutes maximum of your time to listen to insightful discussions. Some people who are experts in their field come to talk to us about things that we can do to improve our lives and lives of our loved one. So until the 21st, when we come away again, this is Marcus, and it's been good having you out there. Enjoy the rest of the week, and see you on the 21st. Bye for now.